Battle of the Carolinas here in Charlotte, North Carolina. UNC taking on USC. That's South Carolina, of course. The last time in 2021, Shane Beamer got the best of Matt Brown, but now they've got a couple of new quarterbacks facing off. Drake May, the baby-faced signal caller for the Tar Heels, and Spencer Rattler, hoping to start things off for the Gamecocks in the same fashion. They ended it last season. That game tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. We'll be counting down to that one. Harry Douglas and Harry Lyles in the building. Of course, the fans are out here strong. Welcome to Countdown to Game Day, presented by Dr. Pepper. You saw those guys already. I'm Williamson, excited to start this college football season off, right? We were in Atlanta last night, but now, of course, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina. What are you guys excited about? How are you feeling? How are you feeling about the crowd?
I mean, you hear this crowd, this is pretty good.
There's no better place than the time of the year when football has arrived.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, football has arrived.
It's here, baby.
College football has arrived. Let's go, Christine.
Week 1 underway. Okay, so we like to start every single thing off, every single show off with 3 big things. We talked about the 3 things that we're looking forward to today, this college football week. Let's start it off with Harry Lyles. What are you thinking?
For me, it's all about the farewell to the Pac-12. This is the last time college football in its current state is going to look like this. And one of the things that has always made this sport great is the regionality of it and the rivalries that are more local to teams. It's obviously getting more national. It's obviously about a lot of money. And we're seeing some of that go away. We've seen some of that in the past. We were at Pitt, West Virginia last year, and you saw how much it meant to those people to play that rivalry game again after 11 years. We don't know when some of these are coming back. So to me, this season is all about enjoying college football, the college football that we all grew up to love in its current form, because we don't know what it's going to look like in the future.
Yeah. All right. The Pac-2 now. AC, what are you looking forward to?
For me, it's Colorado University. We know that Deion Sanders is now the leader of that team and that program. His son, Shedeur Sanders, I want to see how he's going to fare up. He's a guy that's been able to work with Tom Brady in the offseason for numerous of years. Also, they have a guy that's a two-way player, Travis Hunter, a former 5-star recruit that Deion Sanders got to go to Jackson State. When Deion went to Colorado, he transferred to Colorado with Deion Sanders. I want to see that young man ball out, not only at wide receiver, but also at the cornerback position, something that Deion did when he was in college and also National Football League.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. All eyes on Colorado this season, for sure, seeing what Coach Prime is going to do out there. Now, this isn't something I'm necessarily looking forward to, but this is something that happened this week. We were all waiting for it. You mentioned the fact that the Pac-12 is now the Pac-2. We were all waiting to see whether or not Cal and Stanford were going to join the ACC along with SMU, and it officially happened. Conference realignment really taking over all of college football, all of college sports in general, so the ACC going to look a lot different in 2024. Obviously, a lot of implications for all of college football across the land, and to talk about this, of course, the guy that knows literally everything about what's going on in college football, specifically in realignment, is Pete Thamel.
The sheriff.
You know, Pete, we've been talking about this all week, really, on SportsCenter and across all of the shows that you've been on personally. So when it comes to the ACC, obviously Cal, Stanford joining the ACC along with SMU. What is the benefit for the ACC in adding those new schools?
Well, I know we have 2 ACC grads here, so you have that natural rivalry with the Bay Area from Louisville and Clemson, right? I really think for the ACC, like a lot of things in college sports, Christine, it came down to money. And initially the votes weren't there. They basically put in an incentive pool. Cal and Stanford are coming in at a discounted rate, only a 30% share. SMU is going to take no broadcast media revenue for 9 years. That means there's $50 to $60 million that are going to be available every year. About half that's going to be split evenly amongst ACC members. The other half of that are going to go into success initiatives, and that means you win big on the field, you get more money. You win the ACC, you get a playoff berth, especially as we go to a 12-team next year. You win the national title, up to tens of millions of dollars can go your way. So for the unhappy schools, Florida State, Clemson, UNC, they still voted against this, but at least now they can theoretically close some of that revenue gap between the Big Ten and the SEC by winning big.
Okay, so I do want to ask a question, because obviously SMU, like you mentioned, not getting any of the revenue. So what is the incentive for SMU, and why would they want to join the ACC?
Look, the rift between the power conferences and the non-power conferences is only growing. It's like a moat. And as the money goes up in the top tiers, they fall further behind. SMU has a very wealthy alumni base, and they felt like they needed a seat at the table on the other side of the river. I had someone from SMU tell me last night they had a bad 3 decades since they went on the death penalty in the late 80s. They didn't play football in 1987. They didn't play football in 1988. They were a power before. They felt like this was their last chance to reestablish themselves on the right side of the moat for the next generation. So this is really a play to not get left behind.
That makes sense.
Now, we do know Florida State has been very vocal about their piece of the pie and actually trying to depart the ACC. Clemson, we know how they feel, but they have not been very vocal. When you look at those two schools, tell us how they really do feel about everything that has transpired over the last few days.
It's a great question. Florida State has not been subtle. Clemson has got their point across, but they've been a little bit more tactful about it, perhaps, than the Seminoles. I really think the fact that they voted against this and the fact that they still moving forward are worried about that revenue gap, and they knew this could happen. They've established their thought. So I think we will see more change in the ACC. Now, the variable here is time. And then the variable here is a buyout in excess of $100 million. That's A. B is once you leave, you still have to sue for your rights back. You're granted rights through 2036 with the ACC contract. Doesn't mean if you leave and pay that buyout fee, you have your rights. So there's a $100 million plus fine. Then there's a legal battle. Then you need somewhere to go. And nobody's going to invite you until you have that legal ticket cleared. So ultimately, there are 3 major hurdles for those schools to leave if they want to. As always, the lawyers will win, Harry.
They always do. Now, Pete, we still have Oregon State and Washington State. What's the deal? I mean, just to be very plain. You know?
Great question. Talks with those two schools in the AAC broke off yesterday. So inevitably, I think, Harry, they're going to go to the Mountain West.
Yeah.
But the variable here is, again, it comes back to money. The Pac-12 is sitting on a trove of assets. That includes potentially up to $90 million in NCAA units that they're available to get over the next 6 years. So I think Oregon State and Washington State are going to be deliberate. They're going to say, how do we take these assets as the last 2 schools in the Pac-12 and leverage them the most so we can move forward at least with some finances after getting left behind?
Pete Thamel, the busiest guy in college football, for sure. You can catch him on College Game Day at 9 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. Thank you for joining
great to be back with you guys.
Yes,
a lot of fun.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you.
The one and only.
Exactly. Okay, so we were talking about FSU a little bit, obviously, in the ACC. They have a huge matchup on Sunday against LSU. Take a look at this.
We don't want that same taste in our mouth how we felt last year. The statement we want to make is just showing that LSU is back.
It's a primetime game against 2 great opponents. We want to go out and dominate.
We feel like we're a better team than last year. We're looking for, revenge.
We knew that this day would be coming. We know it's going to be a great challenge.
The only game on television, all eyes on us. No better way to kick off the season.
Yep, the Camping World Kickoff. It's going to be a good one Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. on ABC. It's a top 10 game between LSU and FSU. Both teams coming in with CFP hopes. Lyles, what are you looking at in this game?
I mean, to me, this is really all about, at least on Florida State side, you need your 2 best players to play like they're the 2 best players on your team in this game. I'm talking about Jordan Travis, and I'm talking about Jared Verse. As far as Jordan Travis has been at FSU, he has gotten better every single season as a passer. That is incredibly important. They've got the players around him. He's got to establish things for them on offense. And then Jared Verse on defense. He is their best defensive player. He came over, played his first season of FBS football last year, had 17 tackles for loss, 9 sacks. After coming over from Albany, he's still getting better. If that was his stats for his first year at FBS, there's no telling what he's going to be able to do this year, but he's going to have to be able to put pressure on Jaden Daniels if they're going to be in this football game.
AC, who do you think has the edge in this matchup?
Well, right now I'm going to go with Florida State. But I think when I'm looking at this matchup, I'm looking at the defensive line. The defensive line of LSU, the defensive line of Florida State. Last year in this matchup, Florida State got the best of them, getting 4 sacks to LSU none. When you look at Fabian Lovett at the defensive tackle position for Florida State, you look at Jared Verse, who's going to be a top 10 pick in the 2024 NFL draft, and also Patrick Payton at the defensive end position. Yep. Those guys are going to be able to wreak havoc. So can LSU and their offensive line be able to block those guys? That's something that, if it was one thing for them to work on this offseason, it's protecting their quarterback, Jaden Daniels, a little bit more. When you cross over and look at LSU, they're going to be without Mason Smith. A lot of people are downplaying that. That's a huge loss for them because he is a big body, a guy that can wreak havoc up front. But they still have Mekhi Wingo. They still have Savion Jones. So those guys have to be better than they were a year ago trying to get Jordan Travis on the ground versus Florida State's offensive line.
These two teams played last season, as you mentioned, HD, and Florida State won that one by 1 point. Coach Curso, of course, choosing the helmets right now. Okay, so let's go Clemson and Duke, because that's going to be a good one on Monday night. Staying in the ACC, number 9 Clemson taking on Duke for the first time in 11 years. Now, Clemson, obviously the preseason ACC favorite. They typically win the ACC. Quarterbacks are a huge part of this conversation, right? Cade Klubnik for the first time starting full-time for this season, and then, of course, Riley Leonard is back for Duke. So, HG, what are you looking for from those two quarterbacks specifically?
Well, I'll start with Riley Leonard. He's the guy that really hit the scene last year. Protecting the football is the most precious thing you can do at the quarterback position. That's what Riley Leonard did. He's a dual-threat quarterback. He's a guy that's about 6'4", 215 pounds. So when you look at the Clemson defense, they better be alert for his rushing abilities. He led the Duke Blue Devils last year in rushing. And when I looked at Cade Klubnik, he's the guy coming into this offseason as the number 1 guy. You have Garrett Riley coming over from TCU to anchor that offense. That should pay huge dividends for him in those regards. So just go out there and be the playmaker that Clemson needs. If it's one thing I think that's been a dark cloud for Clemson over the last few years, it's the quarterback position not being consistent. Back when they were winning championships with Deshaun Watson and also Trevor Lawrence, that quarterback play was consistent.
Clemson offense obviously has some questions, as we were just mentioning. Cade Klubnik has a lot of expectations this season. But let's talk about the defense, because they're returning a lot of players, specifically on the defensive line. Lyles, what are you looking at in this matchup?
So this one is interesting to me because coming into last year, not even just last year, every single year that Clemson has really taken that next step as when a college football is elite, they have been known for their defensive line play, right? That famous line in 2018, we knew how good that they were. Last year they underperformed with whether it was Brzee, Henry, Miles Murphy. Those guys are gone now, and they all went to the NFL and they're all playing on Sundays. But to me, it's like, what happened with them on Saturdays last year, right? So you look at this line that they've got this year. Xavier Thomas is one player that I think you're really going to see really stand out on this line. They have the most depth that they've had in 5 years. So we're going to see, hopefully, whether or not they can actually compete at the level that we know that they're capable of. And I think that that will give Riley Leonard a lot of problems, again, if they play up to their potential.
And I think Tyler Davis has to have a big year for Clemson at that on that defensive line. When that defensive line is really, really good, Christine, you're laughing.
I just got hit in the head with a T-shirt.
Yeah,
that's why we laugh.
Me too. Clemson is really, really going to be a team to contend with in college football.
Yeah.
This is the second year in a row that Clemson is playing on Labor Day. Again, that game at 8 p.m. on Monday on ESPN. Okay, it's time now to look at who has the Fansville advantage presented by Dr. Pepper. For this, we're going to look ahead to next week, and we know what matchup we're eyeing. It is Texas, Alabama. Obviously, that game in Tuscaloosa. Now, last year, you were at that game. That game was in Austin, and Texas just barely missed it. Quinn Ewers obviously got injured in that one. So who do you think has the advantage in this one? Can Alabama actually take this matchup because it's a home game for them?
I mean, I think they could do it either way because this, again, Alabama team, I feel like we're almost sleeping on them a little bit. But when you add that home field advantage, that place is going to be loud. These Alabama fans, I'm certain, are tired of hearing about, oh, well, are they going to figure out the quarterback position? Are they any good? And I know they're tired of hearing about what's going on in Athens.
Well, I would say this. When you look at last year in this matchup, it was Houdini. It was the magic man, Bryce Young, who had to come save the day. That guy's not walking through the door. Superman is no longer going to the booth.
Yeah.
He's gone. He's in the National Football League. So if it's a close game, are they going to be able to count on Jalen Milroe? Also, when I look at Alabama defensively, they lost 7 guys who had major production on their defense. Yep. So can those young guys or those guys that's filling in for those 7 guys make plays defensively and put Alabama where they want to be at the end of the season?
AC, you mentioned it. Obviously, Bryce Young no longer quarterbacking for Alabama. Jalen Milroe getting the start. So what exactly does he have to do in order for his Alabama team to be successful this season?
I'm putting it on Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator. You have to play towards his strengths and his skill set. Yep. And when it's time to pass the football, Milroe has to be better than he was last year when he was filling in for Bryce Young. Yep. Right? Your accuracy, your completion percentage. When guys are open, you have to hit them. I don't think you can be a one-trick pony in today's college football. When you're asked to make plays at the quarterback position with your arm, you're going to have to be able to do that. Like last year, the deficiency on this offense was the wide receivers. Those guys got that experience last year. Now, is the quarterback going to be able to deliver the football to those guys when they are open? That's the question.
All right, obviously those are the matchups that we're looking forward to, that are the biggest matchups, but there's plenty of college football happening today. We're very excited about it. Let's take a little review of all of them. Starting with Michigan. No Jim Harbaugh, obviously, but the Wolverines do have Blake Corum back as they open their season. They're taking on East Carolina at 12 p.m. HC, what are you looking forward to in that matchup?
Well, I would say this. When it comes to Michigan, they're going to be without Jim Harbaugh, but I think that's going to be motivation for their team. We're talking about a Michigan Wolverines football club that prides everything off of physicality and punching their opponent in the mouth. I don't think anything is going to be different in 2023. I honestly feel sorry for East Carolina because they're going to have to get that thumping today from Michigan.
All right, let's talk Joe Milton and the number 12 Vols, who get their season started versus Virginia at 12 p.m. on ABC. Of course, Milton's first full season as a starter. Lyles, what are you looking for in this one?
Hey, man, look. Joe Milton is one of the players I am most excited to watch this football season. Everybody's like, oh, well, you know, is he accurate enough, this, that, and the third? Hey, man, look at these bombs. It does not matter. He will figure it out. He just needs the reps. Again, when I was talking to Charlie Ward, he said you can't trade game reps or practice reps for game reps. So we'll see Joe Milton.
New season high expectations for number 7 Penn State opening up against West Virginia. A new starter in Drew Aller, the quarterback there for Penn State. What are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking at them offensively. Drew Aller is going to take over at the quarterback position. Can he keep this team afloat? The dark cloud over Penn State the last few years is not being able to beat Michigan and Ohio State, right? The game was a little bit closer against Ohio State last year. They gave up defensively 400 yards rushing to Michigan. That cannot happen. And then I'm also looking at Nicholas Singleton. They have one of the best offensive lines in college football. Can they just play it week in and week out?
And this is a big game for Neil Brown at West Virginia. If he wins that game, that will go a long way in saving his job.
All right, let's go. Billboard Bo Nix, the 70th year quarterback and the 15. I said he's 70 years old because he's been there for a long time. 15 Ducks get started at home versus Portland State. What are you looking at, Lyles?
First off, Christina, I can't believe you talk about your boy Bo Nix like that.
I love him.
He really enjoyed the interview you had. You see that spread 48.5? Here's what I'm interested in. I want to see, for all the hype that Bo Nix created for himself last year, because I think he proved a lot of people wrong.
He did.
Yeah.
This is the type of game I'm trying to see you throw 6 touchdowns. Period.
Yeah.
Like if he's going to continue to be the player that we saw him grow to be last year, this is the game to do that. That's what I want to see.
I have to ask Christine, do you believe in Bo?
Of course.
You should.
I just want everybody to know that I called him 70 years old because I mean that with love and respect, of course. Okay, we're going to play a little game. It's called the 1 minute drill. Oh, just kidding. We have one more game. Boise State taking on Washington, 3:30 p.m. ABC. People don't talk much about this Washington team. However, Michael Penix Jr., I feel like that's all I have to say, right, Lyles? HD?
Well, I would say don't be surprised if the Washington Huskies win the Pac-12 and they get a berth to the college football playoffs this season. I love what Michael Penix brings to the table, a guy that transferred from Indiana. He has 2 receivers coming back that eclipsed 1,000 yards last year. He was the 3rd leading passer in college football. So look for them to start off strong today in week 1.
All right, we're excited about it. Okay, we're also very much excited about the fact that we're about to play a little game. It's called the 1 minute drill. We have a fan from South Carolina and a fan from North Carolina. They're going to stack as many donuts as they possibly can in 1 minute. Lyles is going to have one team. AC is going to have the other team. You guys are going to give your team a little pet talk.
I'm going Carolina.
I'm going South Carolina.
By the way, just so you guys know, the world record for this is 13 donuts. You guys have 1 minute. I feel like that's very easy to do. I don't know, guys.
Get your mind right.
Yeah.
Get your mind right. Listen, you're on my team.
Right,
we don't lose, okay? We don't lose. Represent for the Gamecocks. What's your name?
We'll see if it works out for us.
Say it again.
Nick.
Say your full name.
Nick Beavis.
Let's go.
Nick, who are you? What's your name?
Lincoln.
Lincoln Lincoln. 13 is the world record. Let's see if they're able to do it. 3, 2, 1, go.
They didn't say we could push it.
Most interesting here I've ever seen. I'm not sure how many teams that have seen.
You got to use the big one as a base.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I'm liking the glazed ones. I think
There you go. There you go.
Very smart.
See, you know, Christina, that's a Georgia State education right there.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Smash it.
well educated.
That's
6,
right.
7, 8, 9, 10.
And Atlanta's trying to
Now
research
taking on. All right, you got 30 technically.
I'm gonna beat it.
Lookin, you gotta make sure that they're stacked, okay?
They're stacked. They're just squished.
There you go.
Okay,
There you go.
do I unsquish them?
That's perfect. I mean, we stacked all the donuts. I think
have
that's
like
I feel
15
like
seconds.
Lincoln is done. Do it. Might as well. Nick, this is embarrassing for you. This is so embarrassing.
we got that for sure.
Lincoln, it
think we
has to
got it.
stand at the end of the minute.
Oh, his is not standing. He's not
Okay,
standing.
let the ones fall.
Okay,
And then
okay.
we'll see what's
Nobody
left.
touch it. Nobody tie up. We're good. Nick, I'm going to go and tell you it's an hour minute. Lincoln, you may have won, but let's see what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
11,
I think it's
11.
those two don't
Look at-
count.
the two don't count. All right, so
They're
it's
One,
eight.
two, three,
How many do we have
4,
over there?
5, 6, 7, 8.
8.
How many do y'all have?
No, 10.
But I heard someone said 2 didn't count.
It fell.
The buzzer's done.
All right, I don't know who the winner is. I want to say you, even though I think you might have cheated. And your cake donuts broke.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
I'll give it to you.
Is that what we're teaching the kids?
Ew, that's disgusting. You guys need to clean off your hands.
Do I get to eat it?
Okay, congratulations
Yeah,
to
dude,
everyone.
let's see
I'm
a
not exactly
victory.
sure. Ew, that's even
I
grosser.
would, but you put your hands on
While
it.
Lincoln eats that, we're going to go on and toss it over to
Yeah, I don't
DJ
know where your
Coleman,
hands
our
have been.
reporter from UNC.
Christine, it's early in the morning here at College Game Day, but you would not be able to tell by the looks of it. Fans have been here since 4:30 this morning tailgating, and anticipation is high for their season openers tonight. Now, you know this is a big matchup because Tar Heel and Gamecock fans have traveled from all over to be here in Charlotte tonight to cheer on their teams as they battle and as they wait for kickoff. Now, fans from both sides have been telling me that this game will come down to a battle between the two quarterbacks, Drake May and Spencer Rattler. Now, we're all super excited to see the two Heisman hopefuls battle out tonight. But, you know, I think I hear a few more votes for Drake May from this crowd here behind me. And I know that the Tar Heels are ready to show those Gamecocks that there is only one Carolina. And go Heels!
It is time now to honor the fan who's feeling the cheesiest with the cheesiest chain reserved for college football, most passionate fans. The ones who show up on Saturdays, the cheesiest. What's your name? We have Billy right here. And Billy, you are the cheesiest fan today for College Game Day and the Cheez-Its. How you feeling, my man?
South Carolina. Let's go get a win today. Why not? Why not up?
You just won a replica of the chain that I'm wearing right now. And everything about Cheez-Its I love. My kids eat Cheez-Its. What about you? Do you eat them?
Oh, all the time, 100%. They're one of the best things out there. They're just nothing else really compares to it.
Let me hear you cheer your team on really quick before we go.
Say that again.
Cheer your team on.
Oh, go Cocks. Let's get a win today. Let's go Gamecocks. Come on. Go Cocks.
Christine, back to you.
Thank you, AC. Me and Lyles have migrated over to the demo field. You'll be joining us shortly. Desmond Howard will also be joining us very shortly. But Lyles, before both of them come over here, I just want to ask you, because this is the last year of the CFP looking like it does. College football isn't going to look like this like it does this season anymore. But who are your Final Four? Who do you have as your
My Final Four, I got Georgia, I got Michigan, I think I have to go Alabama and then Texas, right? Because I got Alabama beating Texas, I got Alabama losing to Georgia.
Okay.
What about you?
Okay, so I haven't listened.
Clemson.
You guys very much told me not to choose
Miami.
at least one of my teams. I had to choose Clemson because I feel like, hey, Club Nick is going to bring him to the Clemson. I feel like I had Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, and Alabama for my Final Four. So it'll be a very interesting
It will.
Final Four. We'll see exactly if that happens. Okay, so we're going to bring over HD. You can come on
and
over.
the very well dressed, by the way,
Yeah,
Desmond Howard. Not that he's
great.
ever not looking sharp, but I mean, and maybe it's just week one
for
here.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, you know, look at
HD. Okay, so I just asked Lyles his Final Four. We're gonna have Des join us. Oh, there he is.
Look who it is.
Desmond Howard.
My
in the building.
favorite piece.
It's so good seeing you.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
I'm going to start just asking you, obviously the college football season isn't going to look like this anymore. What are you most looking forward to when it comes to this college football season?
This season?
Yeah.
Well, since it's been a season of realignment, like college football needed a chiropractor or something,
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to now talking about players, teams, games, because the whole offseason's been about this team going to the Big 12, this team going to the Pac-12, to the Big Ten. So now I want to just watch some games, exciting games this weekend, all the way to Monday night.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be great.
About that.
Another thing that's changing next college football season is the fact that the CFP is no longer going to be 4 teams. So we're going to run some teams by you and just talk about whether or not you feel like they're going to make it into the college football playoff in the last year that it looks like this. Okay? Starting with Florida State, because obviously a lot of people are excited about this Florida State team. What are you looking forward to with FSU this season?
I'm so excited about Florida State. I don't know if you guys saw my Final Four, but Florida State's in my Final Four. That's right. It starts with LSU game. Now last year, that was a nail biter. It came down to a blocked extra point, and Florida State won. You know, so LSU's out for revenge. But listen, they have a receiver, Johnny Wilson. This kid is 6'7", 240 pounds, and you can appreciate this. If he was on an NFL roster today, he would be the second tallest receiver to ever play in the NFL. Only second to Harold Carmichael, who was listed at 6'8". Yeah, he's a problem. He's a problem.
For sure.
Well, I'll say this about Florida State.
Okay.
They have 2 transfers too. Keon Coleman at the wide receiver position from Michigan State, and Jaheim Bell, who played here in South Carolina, right? Yeah. We're here for South Carolina, North Carolina. Jaheim Bell is an X factor in my opinion. Okay. Because his versatility, you can play him at tight end, wide receiver, H-back, give him speed sweep. So I'm looking for him to have a big season too.
And they also have a very, very talented running backs room too. Yeah. They're not just going to throw the ball, they're going to be handing the ball off too. They got great balance.
I was going to say, do you expect Jordan Travis to take another leap from what we saw out of him last season? Because, you know, this game that we played last year between these 2 teams was sloppy. A lot of people forget that, right? But because of that great finish, but now we sort of expect this to be a better game. But do you think Jordan Travis will take that leap?
I'm looking forward to seeing Jordan Travis. I think he's going to take that leap. I spoke to Mike Norvell this week, and he said that Jordan had a great camp, that he's a great leader, and that they've seen him grow. And that's what you want to see from your quarterback. Not only as a player, but you want to see him grow as a leader too amongst men. And so far, this is what they said they've observed from him. But hey, we'll see when he has to line up against those Bayou Bengals.
Yeah, for sure. Another quarterback that has a lot of expectations this season is Quinn Ewers over at Texas. What are you looking forward to when it comes to the Longhorns this season?
I tell you, you know a young man is serious when he cuts his mullet off, okay? This is serious business this year. Yeah, so my man, he understands a lot at stake this year, and you have people telling him, hey, if you didn't get hurt a year ago in Austin, we would have beat Alabama. So I think there's a lot of pressure, but you know, with a guy like this, he had a lot of pressure in high school. He understood what it was going to Austin to play for Sarkisian. So I think he's going to be okay. The game next week against Alabama in Tuscaloosa is going to tell us a lot about both teams.
Well, I like the skill position players that he has. You talk about Xavier Worthy, Whittington coming back, transfer A.D. Mitchell from Georgia,
A.D. Mitchell,
tight end. Sanders at the tight end position. So he has a plethora of weapons that he can get the football to.
See, he's a wideout, right?
He got to throw the ball to somebody. That's how we want it, baby. Just give us the damn ball.
That's all. You don't ask for much.
Des, so excited to start the college football season, especially having you on the show. I mean, I know you didn't have your jacket on today for our show, but we know you look clean, you look good, got the paint coming out.
I gotta try to keep up with you youngsters. You know what I mean? Y'all be so fresh.
Thanks so much, Des. Okay, obviously you guys, UNC, South Carolina happening today right here. Take a look at this.
Drake May, Spencer Rattler. Too many players playing better right now in the country.
I think Spencer Rattler is like that guy. Man's a dog. That's the best way I could describe him.
When our players play against Drake May every day, they're playing against a guy like Spencer Rattler.
I have full trust in Spencer to make the throws that nobody else anywhere can make.
The thing that we have to do is not let him get comfortable.
He's definitely the general of their offense. If we can take care of the head, then the body won't fail.
Dominant competitor, relentless attitude. It's going to take all 11 on defense, staying disciplined in coverage, but then it's also being able to get him on the ground too, which is not an easy feat with his size.
Here we are with Spencer Rattler and Drake May. That's why we're on game day, because we've got 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country.
That's right. It is a big one between South Carolina and North Carolina. Today, as we walk through this.
Let's go! Let's go! Go Dogs, baby!
Yeah, I mean,
Go Tigers! Go Tigers!
Yeah, for sure. I want to talk a little bit about Spencer Rattler because when he came out of, because when he came out of high school, obviously there was a lot of expectations when he went over to Oklahoma. He wasn't able to perform at the level that a lot of people thought he was supposed to. But when you look at Spencer Rattler, after the season that he had last year in South Carolina, what are you looking forward to when it comes to this season?
Well, I want to start right there in 2022. His last 3 games were phenomenal. Yep. They were able to beat number 5 Tennessee, number 9 Clemson, and he had a hell of a bowl game as well. Spencer Rattler today against his Tar Heel defense that was last in the ACC last season, but I mean they gave up big play after big play, the inability to sack the quarterback and create turnovers, and then you're going against Drake May, who everyone is saying is going to be the second quarterback taken in the 2024 NFL draft. What better game than today against North Carolina for Spencer Rattler to show everyone else that no, I'm climbing back up the draft board somewhere where he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. Drake May, Spencer Rattler, UNC versus South Carolina, and I mean, it is officially week 1 of the college football season. It's so exciting.
Let's go.
Tweet on this matchup, UNC South Carolina.
This is a tough one. I gotta go with the ACC. I'm an ACC guy, so I'm going with North Carolina.
Okay.
I'm going with North Carolina as well. Okay. I think Drake May is going to be in for a big game. I just hope to see a good Spencer Rattler today. That's what I want to see.
I was going to say that too because I was a huge Spencer Rattler fan as he was coming out of high school, and I really wanted him to succeed. So I do hope he has a very solid game. I'm going to go with UNC on this one too because I do think Drake May obviously just slightly better and a little bit more high expectations. All right, guys, it has been so fun hanging out with you for the last 30 minutes. We are officially here. College Game Day is officially here. It's going to be a really good one.
Look at the sign right here. No.
You ate SMU already? We got good signs. We haven't gotten any of these signs. Everybody's so lit. Thank you guys for watching Countdown to College Game Day presented by Dr. Pepper. We will see you guys next week.